In New Hampshire, the outsiders are in.
Thank you, New Hampshire.
Do we love the people of New Hampshire?
And for the Republicans, a surprise surge into second.
He won fair and square, but I beat him in Dixville Notch.
The results are in, and the night team is on.
7 News at 11 starts now.
And what a night in New Hampshire. Donald Trump trumps, winning the GOP primary here. Trump dominated the polls, beating his closest opponent by more than double.
For the Democrats, voters were feeling the burn. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders beat former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Sanders is hoping to ride this surge into Nevada and South Carolina now. So we've said these words a lot today, but we'll say it again. What a night. We haven't seen something like this in New Hampshire before.
Yeah, a record turnout likely. Two candidates many consider outside the political establishment winning in a convincing way tonight. Let's get right to the numbers for the Republicans. Trump, the big winner with 34%, but John Kasich is the one who made a big move tonight. He comes in second with 16%, and then the race for third is still really tight with Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, and Marco Rubio pretty much neck and neck. And here are the bottom three in the GOP race. We just talked about New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who says he's heading home to reassess his campaign. Dr. Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina pulling up the bottom two.
On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders winning handedly with 59% there. Hillary Clinton behind with 39%. The night team is all over the New Hampshire primary tonight. Our reporters covering all of the big campaigns, and our political editor, Andy Hiller, is here with analysis as well. So let's start with the Republicans and the night team's Dan Housley covering the Trump campaign for us. Dan?
Donald Trump answered the doubters tonight, those doubts that crept in after Iowa when his poll numbers turned out to be a bit of loose and falling through. When he came here, the questions persisted all week. Could he meet the expectations? Well, it turned out his support was as solid as the Granite State.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Donald Trump takes the stage to a cheering crowd packed into a small banquet hall and many more listening outside.
We want to thank the people of New Hampshire, right? Do we love the people of New Hampshire?
Trump also thanked his campaign staff for getting out the vote when many said that was a flaw of his populist, celebrity-fueled campaign.
Do we have a ground game? Where's Corey Lewandowski?
Trump went on to list a litany of promises that his supporters have come to expect and cheer.
I am going to be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. Remember that.
And of course, he finished with the catchphrase emblazoned on so many of those red hats in the crowd.
We are going to make America so great again, maybe greater than ever before. I love you all. Thank you, New Hampshire. Thank you, New Hampshire.
The Trump campaign thrilled not only with his numbers, but the rest of the numbers, because as long as the rest of the Republican field stands muddled, Donald Trump stands tall above them. We're live in Manchester. Dan Housley, 7 News Night.
Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders coming up big, beating Hillary Clinton in a big way.
And he said earlier tonight that he has no plans of slowing down. Let's check in with the Sanders campaign. Kimberly Bookman is there once again for us tonight. Kimberly.
That's right, Adam. You know, this really was not a surprise win. Bernie Sanders had been leading by double digits in the polls the entire week. And in fact, we talked to the campaign in the hours leading up to the polls closing, and they said that Bernie Sanders was feeling confident and calm. So calm, in fact, go ahead and take a look at this video. You can see that he was playing basketball, shooting hoops at his campaign headquarters. He was playing with his children and his grandchildren as those results came in. Now, before speaking to supporters, Sanders and his wife Jane watched the returns on TV sets in the Concord High School gym, and then the Vermont senator thanked all the people who went to the polls today, saying it sent a message from Maine to California that the government belongs to all the people.
Tonight, with what appears to be a record-breaking voter turnout, because face of a huge voter turnout, and I say huge, we won.
He also did something very unusual. He said he's heading to New York City not for a fancy fundraiser. Instead, he asked for donations to his campaign from supporters here tonight, anything from $10 up. He, of course, congratulated Hillary Clinton and said he hopes that they can continue an issue-oriented contest, and he acknowledged that it won't be easy. But Bernie Sanders ended this all by being very hopeful. He talked about when he makes it to the White House. Reporting live from Concord, New Hampshire, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News 19.
A disappointing but expected loss for Hillary Clinton tonight.
So she's now turning her attention to Nevada and South Carolina. Let's go to the Clinton campaign. 19's Byron Barnett is covering that for us tonight.
Yeah, I think you got it right there. Disappointment, but not shock here. I think the campaign insiders here all saw this coming, particularly when they saw those exit polls this afternoon. New Hampshire voters have come through for the Clintons twice before, but not this time. Still, Hillary Clinton thanked the New Hampshire voters here, and she said her fight is far from over.
Hillary Clinton taking the stage with her family to do something they've never had to do before, give a concession speech in New Hampshire.
I want to begin by congratulating Senator Sanders on his victory tonight, and I want to thank each and every one of you, and I want to say I still love New Hampshire, and I always will.
Clinton was upbeat and fiery, saying she plans to press on with her message of fighting for anyone who's been held back by bigotry or income inequality.
And I will fight to rein in Wall Street. And you know what? I know how to do it.
The campaign says it's already looking ahead to the next primaries and caucuses, especially the ones in March. Campaign officials say unlike New Hampshire and Iowa, the March states are more diverse demographically and play to Clinton's strengths.
Now we take this campaign to the entire country. We're going to fight for every vote in every state.
And we've been told that Hillary Clinton has left the state of New Hampshire. She's on a flight home to New York tonight. And on Thursday, she'll be in Wisconsin for a debate with Bernie Sanders. And on Friday, then she's off to South Carolina. That's a story live in Hooksett, New Hampshire. I'm Byron Barnett, 7 News.
Byron, thank you. So lots of movement in the Republican ranks tonight. Hillary Clinton gets this jolt from Bernie Sanders.
Our political editor, Andy Hiller, joins us now with Dr. Joshua Dick from UMass Lowell. And I guess the question, let's first talk about the record or projected record turnout today and what that says about this campaign.
The first question from Adam is, what is the impact of the record turnout?
You know, we thought that there might be a little bit of impact. I think that it probably helped Bernie Sanders and John Kasich like we thought it might.
I have to admit it, you thought that Kasich was going to get the boost. I thought that it was going to be Jeb Bush. You were right there.
It was one or the other, though. One of them was going to jump out of the establishment lane.
Okay. The first thing everybody wants to know when they, after an election, when we have the results, is who won. And you already know that. And the next question many people ask is, okay, how good was the poll? Dr. Josh, how good was the poll?
Well, I think we were right there. I mean, I think the poll performed very well. There weren't really any surprises for us tonight. If you take undecideds and allocate them to Sanders, that's right where our poll was. We had him up by 16. It looks like he's going to win by right around 20. And on the Republican side, Donald Trump, who we had right between 34 and 38 all week at 34, he's sitting right at 35% right now and almost 20 points ahead of the field, which was our last estimate of plus 21.
So the truth is, pollsters have kind of been rapped before for not coming very close, for misleading people, actually even for getting it all wrong. This one, we got pretty close to right.
We did. They call New Hampshire the pollster graveyard, and I'm happy that we weren't buried here.
Unlike Chris Christie. The biggest surprise of the night, let me go back to you, Adam and Kim.
All right. Well, speaking of, Andy, that's what we were going to say, and I think you guys would probably agree with this, especially based on what you just said, that the biggest surprise of the night, hands down, was former Ohio Governor John Kasich's pretty strong second-place finish.
Yeah, we knew Trump that would come out on top, but there was a lot of question about this sort of pack of four. Kasich bet heavy on New Hampshire and spent a lot of time in the Granite State. Definitely paid off. Let's go to the Kasich campaign now. Brandy Gannell is there.
Kim, he certainly did spend a lot of time. He did it the old-fashioned way, and maybe I could say the New Hampshire way. He held more than 106 town hall meetings here in New Hampshire. He was out at diners, serving people coffee, shaking people's hands, really getting out the vote here in New Hampshire. So when he came out at the headquarters here in Concord, it was a packed house. This is the Courtyard Marriott. He said, you know, we never went negative because we had more to sell. Tonight, the light overcame the darkness. That was Kasich's words. His speech was personal, though, like a lot of his campaign has been. And when I spoke to his supporters, they said, you know, that's what we like about John Kasich, that he acts like the adult in the room. He has the experience, not only in Ohio as governor, but also in the House. They simply told me that they feel he's not just a politician, but a statesman as well.
And maybe, just maybe, at a time when clearly change is in the air, maybe, just maybe, we are turning the page on a dark part of American politics, because tonight the light overcame the darkness of negative campaigning. And you made it happen. You made it happen. You made it happen. You made it happen.
I spoke to his staffers, and they said the Kasich bus is actually already in South Carolina, and they said John Kasich, as well as some of his other staffers and journalists, are going to board a charter plane at midnight tonight. So John Kasich will be sleeping in South Carolina. We're live at his headquarters in Concord, New Hampshire. Brandon Gano, 7 News 19.
All right, Brandon, thank you. What we saw happen with Kasich tonight is probably reminiscent of what we saw in Iowa. And coming off of his surprise win in Iowa, Texas Senator Ted Cruz spent this week sort of tempering expectations for the New Hampshire primary.
And if you're watching the numbers at the bottom of our screen here, Cruz is in a fight for third tonight with former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. It kind of keeps going back and forth. But let's get to the Cruz campaign. The night team's Jonathan Hall is there with what Cruz is saying tonight. John?
Hey, Adam, Kim, you know, his campaign bus here in New Hampshire says cruising to victory. Perhaps it should have said cruising to third place, because that, after all, is what happened. Cruz has just barely eked out, apparently, a third-place win over Jeb Bush. This is not what the campaign wanted, but really, it is not a disaster for the campaign. The 45-year-old Texas senator has been courting evangelical Christians. Hey, that's great in Iowa. That's tougher sledding in New Hampshire. Supporters here in an up mood all night. They clearly believe Cruz is going places, even if it wasn't here. They love his message that he's ushering in a new Reagan revolution and will break up what he calls the Washington cartel, rife with corruption. Cruz has about 12% of the vote, just ahead of Jeb Bush by less than 1,000 votes, 22 points behind his nemesis Donald Trump. And he mentioned Trump tonight, and a few people in the crowd booed.
Now, I want to congratulate Donald Trump on an impressive win tonight. And John Kasich had a good night tonight. But the real winner is the conservative grassroots. Your victory tonight has left the Washington cartel utterly terrified. And so now on to South Carolina, on to Nevada, on to Super Tuesday.
Well, at times, this really felt like a victory speech here tonight. You'd never know that Ted Cruz actually finished third, almost fourth. But again, New Hampshire's been difficult for him. And when we spoke with him this week, he certainly was looking forward to South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Don't forget, Texas, a huge state, is involved in Super Tuesday, and that's his home turf. We're live in Hollis, New Hampshire tonight. Jonathan Hall, 7 News 19.
As you mentioned, John, the numbers between Cruz and Bush are less than 1,000 right now, separating them. However it shakes out, a third-place finish would be big for Jeb Bush.
Yeah, if he could eke that out, it would prove to provide some momentum that he definitely needs heading into Nevada and South Carolina. Tim Caputo is with the Bush campaign. Are they positioning themselves on this night yet, or still wanting to see the numbers play out?
Well, at this point, it's a glass-half-full situation for this campaign. It's not a first-place finish. It's certainly not a second-place finish. But after finishing 6th in Iowa, they consider this a step in the right direction. Political pundits said New Hampshire was do or die for Jeb Bush, but the former Florida governor says despite a possible fourth-place finish here, his run for the White House is alive and kicking.
This campaign is not dead. We're going on to South Carolina.
Tonight he told the crowd of supporters he's only getting started and touted his experience as the reason he's most fit to be president.
In Florida, we shrunk the state government by 11%. 11% because I took on the powerful public unions. We need to do that in Washington, D.C. to fix the mess there as well.
Bush has raised more money than any other Republican in the race and is already focused on the next primary with the help of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham.
Bush is back because of New Hampshire. South Carolina, here we come.
Bush told the crowd he's the only candidate who could beat Hillary Clinton in November, and if elected, he promises to unite a divided nation.
Someone will work with Congress, someone who doesn't assume that just because you disagree with someone, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. We can fix this together. The American people deserve far better.
Jeb didn't specifically reference where he finished in the New Hampshire primary. He's looking at the big picture. He's in it for the long haul. We're live in Manchester, New Hampshire. Tim Caputo, 7 News 19.
All right, and stay with us. There's much more ahead tonight on 7 News.
Including more from up here in New Hampshire, plus Jeremy Reiner back in Boston watching some winter weather.
Yes, that is correct. A few snow showers on the way for tomorrow. Midweek forecast up next.
Coverage of the New Hampshire primary continues tonight. Donald Trump winning big on the Republican side, but probably the biggest story out of New Hampshire tonight is John Kasich's second-place finish.
And for the Democrats, Bernie Sanders beating Hillary Clinton. Clinton had seen her numbers go up a bit in New Hampshire recently, but Sanders was just too far ahead. And a disappointing night for Florida Senator Marco Rubio. He actually saw his numbers surge after the Iowa caucus.
That didn't play out here. And tonight, Rubio blamed his poor performance in Saturday night's debate and vowed that he will never let that happen again. Jennifer Egan with the Rubio campaign. Jen?
Well, Kim, Senator Rubio came out here just about an hour or so ago. He had his family join him on stage. And just like you mentioned, he called it a disappointing night here in New Hampshire, but he took the blame. He said it was because of a poor performance in the debate on Saturday night. You know, coming out of Iowa, he had a strong third-place finish there. They called it Marco-mentum. He was only 1 point behind Trump. But then Marco-mentum really ran into the Chris Christie wall at that debate. Christie called him out for sticking to his script, and that's something that really dogged him in the final days leading up to the primary. Rubio told the crowd here that that will not happen again.
Not all the days are going to be great days. We're not always going to get things the way we want. But in the end, I am confident that not only will this campaign be successful, but America will be successful as well. I am confident that when this process is done, this nation will rediscover and re-embrace the principles that made her great. I am confident. Confident. Because for over 2 centuries, Americans, in the end, have always gotten it right.
So now the Rubio campaign looks ahead to South Carolina, and he does have a strong ground game there. Last week, we saw a senator and a congressman from South Carolina introduce him at a rally, so he certainly does have a strong support in that state. Question is if he can change the narrative now in this race. We're live in Manchester, New Hampshire. Jennifer Egan, 7 News 19.
And we've had reports from all over New Hampshire tonight that voter turnout was huge. They were on track to set a record, and we haven't heard anything, but we've seen the voters out today and tonight.
Absolutely. Some people had a really hard time getting to the polls because of all the traffic, all the people that were in line. So let's get to the night team's Nick Emmons in New Hampshire with more. Nick?
Adam, Kim, you know, all night we've been talking about the candidates, those who came out on top, those who overcame the odds. But for many people here in Merrimack, New Hampshire, just getting to the polls was a big problem.
With record turnout expected in the first-in-the-nation primary, roads surrounding Merrimack High School were backed up for miles.
The turnout was pretty steady and probably as busy as we've ever seen it.
Voters waiting in the cold outside the town's only polling location to cast their votes.
Waiting over an hour and a half in line, just in the traffic. So it's disappointing.
Jacqueline Mullen tried to vote on 2 different occasions. Each time the traffic was too much. When she tried the last time, it was too late.
Oh, it's unfair. We feel a little disappointed, but we'll have our turn, I guess, in November.
For those who were able to vote, the frustration of having to wait for hours boiled over inside.
Can you see my ears? Do I have any ears left? They've been chewing on them all day long.
Officials say the big backup was caused by a change in the traffic plan.
And so we tried to tweak it each time to make it better. The way we did it this time failed miserably.
Officials figured it out by late morning, but by then the effects lingered.
So we only had one polling location, which might be some good food for thought come November, that maybe we could have it on separate sides of the town.
Yeah, officials echoing that same thing here. So the polls, they closed at 7 o'clock tonight. They got to a certain point when they had to actually set a point outside in the traffic line with a police cruiser, as well as the people waiting outside. Once those people made it all the way in, they were able to cast their votes, and they shut things off from there. They had to extend voting hours. They got permission to do that because of all the delays that they saw, but obviously not everyone was able to cast their vote. Live in Merrimack, New Hampshire, Nick Emmons, 7 News 19.
All right, thanks, Nick. And patience certainly required out there today for a lot of people.
All right, we will be back with more news and your weather forecast. Stay with 7.
You've spent most of the evening watching our political coverage here from Manchester, New Hampshire.
Now let's go back to Boston to get you caught up on some of the other news of the day. For that, we turn to Jadian and Ryan.
All right, thank you guys for all of your hard work up there today. For the other news, a hero critically injured after the marathon bombing shootout is now moving forward.
Yeah, Transit Police Sergeant Dick Donahue is now retiring. He was shot in Watertown during the pursuit of the marathon bombers and fought for more than 2 years to return to active duty. But because of the pain he goes through every single day, Donahue says he can't go on. He says it was a tough decision, but he's looking forward to the future.
I mean, I'm left with a few daily reminders of what had happened, but I've tried to move forward and move on in my life and do good things in the community, do good things with the department, and really put a bad situation behind me and focus on the good.
And Donahue has plenty of good to look forward to. He and his wife are expecting their second son in April.
All right, Jeremy Reiner is standing by for us now with a look at the weather for the rest of the week as we edge toward the middle of the week, Jeremy.
Yes, right now Boston 23, Bedford at 13 with partly cloudy skies. This over here, this is our weather system for tomorrow. It's a storm system that's kind of broken up into jigsaw puzzle pieces in the form of a few isolated snow showers. So this is here tonight, and it will be in New England tomorrow. So plan on a few passing snow showers. It's nothing like yesterday. It's not a storm that requires watches or warnings or me tomorrow morning. But you will see a couple of scattered snow showers through the day. And for most of us, it's a coating or less. But, you know, there may be the occasional steadier burst of snow with 1 or 2 of these snow showers. It's similar to trying to, like, advertise, you know, a thunderstorm in the summertime. I think most of us see much ado about nothing. But maybe 1 or 2 of you have a coating to an inch or 2 Route 2 corridor, as well as Southeast Mass. In any event, as we work toward the next couple of days, cold conditions heading into New England by the end of the week and the weekend, with temperatures on Sunday morning, Valentine's morning, down into the single numbers just below 0. Chris has an update in the morning.
All right, what a Valentine's Day that will be. Thank you, JR.
More coverage from New Hampshire after the break.
All right, so from here in New Hampshire, we're on to the Nevada caucus and South Carolina primary.
And 7's Jonathan Hall is, in fact, heading to South Carolina tomorrow morning to continue our political coverage. You can look for John's live reports starting on 7 News at 4. Right now, let's head back to our political editor, Andy Hiller, for a final thought about tonight's First in the Nation primary. Andy.
Kim, New Hampshire never lets us down. It always surprises. The message here tonight was power to the people, because it was the people's candidates, the populists, who won, and the political establishment's candidates who lost. But the people are not united. The Republicans are split. The Democrats are split. And all they share is anger and mistrust of government. Both winners here tonight represent political revolutions of a different kind. Bernie Sanders says it directly, and Donald Trump indirectly. New Hampshire voters took 2 outsiders and put them on the inside track. It also sparked some candidacies and torched others. It should be over for Chris Christie, Carly Fiorina, and Ben Carson. I've been covering New Hampshire primaries since 1976, and this is my favorite because it was the most telling and revealing about the state of the nation. Live in New Hampshire, I'm Andy Hiller, and that's my instinct.
Wow, 4 decades, that says a lot.
Very interesting, and as we've been saying, this is just the beginning. This is where the candidates get their momentum, and it only gets more interesting from here. Thanks for being with us all evening long. I'm Adam Williams.
And I'm Kim Casey. Have a terrific tomorrow, everybody. Good night.